My name is the Spectre, and I'm the most disappointed man alive. When I was a child, I started watching a show about the impossible. I dedicated years to the show. Then an accident murdered the impossible. To the outside world, I'm an ordinary introverted person, but secretly I use my voice to fight stupidity and review dumb things I see. And one day, I'll fix crimes done to good media and get justice for my lost time. I am the Spectre. Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to the video. Apologies for the dramatics, it just had to be done. This episode actually did something impossible for me. It made me hate the series with a passion, and the directors and writers are to blame. How do you fumble your show worse than the Supergirl ending? Seriously, how? They should be studied and immortalized at the pinnacle of stupidity. I'm livid about this finale, more so because the beginning 5 minutes of the 40 bloody minute episode are the only good parts of the finale, and those 5 minutes are only good for nostalgia purposes. So, welcome to the review of The Flash Season 9 Episode 13 Changes finale. Let's begin with the first minute at the start that I actually praised. We have Zoom being ripped out of the past and into the negative Speed Force. Then in comes Godspeed, and they immediately begin a rooster sword measuring contest, followed by a zesty Reverse Flash who is flaunting his epic speed blade as well. Who would have guessed? Then, while the swords are fully unsheathed, we have the armored lunatic Savitar joining the measuring contest. All in good fun. It's at this point Eddie comes in revealing he brought them all in there, infuses with the crystal, giving himself a new suit and the name Cobalt Blue. Except none of his powers are bloody blue. Fantastic display of nothing. He claims he will boost their powers in a pursuit of ending the Flash's legacy, and they all just go with it. Here's why I like this scene. The villains are allowed to be themselves, to realize they all failed. We see them realize they weren't enough, and we can understand why they would join the negative Speed Force. Their interactions seem perfectly accurate as well, but things go downhill completely from here. Let's begin on everything wrong with this episode. Number 1. The villains. Zoom. He would never, I repeat ever, work with anyone. We've seen him kill even copies of himself to remain the top. He wanted to erase the multiverse. Now he's faced with several and just teams up. Next, Godspeed. He is such an egomaniac there is quite literally no possibility he'd contend with others like this. He's the type to make clones of himself instead, but again he just goes with it too. Savitar is such a joke here. He just says some classic villain lines and that's it. Complete wasted potential. Reverse Flash acts nothing like the Reverse Flash we know. He seems so playful and arrogant. The Reverse Flash we know commands presence. He's dangerous and unpredictable, but this one just seems so laid back and goes with Eddie's plan here. So sad to see, honestly. And Eddie, oh dear. There's nothing blue about Cobalt Blue except the suit, and it's embarrassing. Remember the comments I made in all previous parts about the negative Speed Force using blue when it should be red as it's always been? Turns out I was right, because the blue energy goes away immediately after fusing with the crystal. Did the negative Speed Force dye its energy? Who knows? The show certainly doesn't. Let's just move on. We get a scene of the Flash at the hospital, an hour before the baby arrives. This episode ends by the time the baby is born, meaning everything in here happens within an hour all the battles are finished. Meaning, 5 speedsters are going to lose in less than an hour. There's already a giant red flag here. How are they going to make this battle shine? Let's find out. The quick answer is, they bloody don't. Everything is screwed 8 ways to Sundays. Eddie arrives at the hospital and is perfectly ready to kill Barry and end his legacy. It allows Barry to run away because reasons. Alrighty then. We get a short chase scene with some property damage and the Flash getting his backside handed to him. Lovely. Enter Nora, here from the future to lend some aid. The Flash summons his entire team of fighters to face Eddie. The lineup consists of Flash, Nora, Mark, Cecile, Keone, Allegra. Eddie then pulls his team out as well. which consists of Eddie, Zoom, Reverse Flash, Savitar, and Godspeed, who all begin by giving terrible one-liners. Everyone splits into pairs, of course. Now let's cover these separately. Barry and Eddie. We'll discuss this much later. Now let's begin with disappointment number 1, Nora and Savitar. Savitar, after a short chase, stabs Nora through the chest. I kid you not, stabs her through the chest with an iron claw from his suit. But they play it off as if she was phasing. No, she wasn't. She definitely wasn't. The claw was clean through her. Then she started phasing, and then breaks the claw and swipes Savitar so cleanly in the back, so carelessly even, and this just ends him. Well, God of Speed killed in less than 30 seconds. I guess you were the God of Speed. And what gets me the most about this scene is that Nora looks super happy for someone who just potentially murdered her father's clone. Well, she's cold. Aris must have taught you well, Nora. Disappointment number 2. Cecile and Godspeed. Yeah, seriously. So Godspeed catches up to Cecile. Yeah, a speedster like him had trouble. He splits into multiple clones, and Cecile, a human with human reaction speed, kills every single copy of Godspeed. Speed honestly is such a joke in this series. She then brain blasts the original, and hey, another villain dead in a minute or less. Priceless. Cecile took down the equivalent of nearly 10 speedsters on her own. They've downgraded speedsters to being completely useless. Disappointment number 3. Reverse Flash and Allegra. Reverse Flash goes after Chester at Star Labs and acts so childish. I think they were trying to recreate the magic of the Cisco moments, but it comes off so goofy. Reverse Flash hits Chester with lightning, seemingly killing him. Allegra ends Reverse Flash in a light blast. Well, the first one kind of concusses him and the second one ends him. I'm not joking. And turns out Chester is alive. Wonderful. Disappointment number 4. Zoom versus Keone. Zoom chases Keone but is trapped by the police. He throws lightning towards Keone, and Keone just raises a hand nonchalantly, absorbs it and fires it back, ending Zoom in that very instance. Yeah, again, absolute joke. Now let's go to disappointment number 5, Eddie. Eddie has his speed stolen by Jay Garrick. That's correct. Even being the Speed Force avatar didn't save him from that one. And also Jay Garrick can just steal people's speed, apparently. So, Eddie, feeling inadequate, absorbs all the other speedsters for excess speed and power. He goes into the negative Speed Force to absorb more power in order to beat Barry. The Flash wants to keep Eddie alive, of course. Keone says she can take Barry into the negative Speed Force and that Barry should try to pacify Eddie and let go of conflict. Barry refuses the impossible idea until Keone says something stupid and takes him into the negative Speed Force where Eddie is, because she can just do that. Eddie, while in the negative Speed Force, is absorbing as much lightning as possible in order to give himself more power. Barry gets beaten up until his speech somehow works and everything is okay because Eddie decides to destroy the crystal and accepts coexistence with the regular Speed Force. So the timeline is now saved. Great. Everything after this is just resolutions. Like Iris giving birth, Joe proposing to Cecile, and Keone ascending so Caitlin comes back. Yep, you heard that right. Yep, that's about it. Now I'm gonna just rant. Keone. Was there any point in making her so strong? Any? At all? She's a goddess because of a scientific reaction. Right. So Caitlin created Keone in trying to bring back Frost. But she's somehow a goddess so powerful, nothing is impossible to her. This removed every stake in the finale and ensured that there is no battle that can't be won. Every time she appeared, she seemingly gained more power. First ice, then a bunch of off-screen abilities, then nature, and then Speed Force control, and now even negative Speed Force control. This is downright pathetic self-satisfaction, because it's such a bad choice pulling a goddess out their unkempt backsides. Keone, Doesn't make any sense. And we have her create Caitlyn in the end? Well, bloody crackers, that's terrible. Why not both Keon and Frost then? Low budget? Goddess didn't feel like it? Nonsense. If she was just going to leave her mortal form in the form of Caitlyn, couldn't she just create Killer Frost as well, since that was the whole reason Mark had a bad villain arc? Okay then. Cecile. Cecile suffers from the same issues as Keon. Her power grows over and over with no limit, it seems. She fights speedsters like it's nothing. And she defeated several Godspeed clones in seconds, and that's ridiculous. How did an empath react to someone who can move at near speeds of light, multiple of them at once? This is pure and utter fermented horse dung hanging on the back of a fairly arrogant bull. I hate it. I saw her scene and it nearly made me just shatter my keyboard and stop watching this episode. Matter of fact, the only reason I even finished watching this episode is because I didn't want to keep loose ends, else I would have just skipped this and called it quits. Eddie. Oh, Eddie. Why did they destroy you so badly? This is such a crying shame. They brought him back, a beloved character, and proceeded to ceremoniously piss on his newly formed corpse, like some demented sacrificial event. Why was this necessary? The fact Eddie just surrenders in the end is the actual worst part, because it makes his entire time as Cobalt Blue seem like a child's tantrum. It meant nothing in the end, and I hate this ending. The villains as a whole. Okay, someone tell me who thought it was a good idea to have villains who took seasons each to defeat lose in 5 minutes. And in pathetic ways too. Savitar is one shot by Nora, Zoom is one shot by Keon, Godspeed 2 shot by Cecile. If you count the clones, then Godspeed actually lost multiple times in less than 30 seconds. Reverse Flash 2 shot by Allegra. Great. And these are powerful speedsters. Really? What an absolute joke. This entire last episode is a crime against an entire 9 years of the show's setup and runtime. It defiles something so treasured. It should have been a high-stakes ending turned into a glorified game of whack-a-mole, ending villains left and right with no purpose. The Flash. Barry Allen. Dumbest man alive, father to a pathetic excuse for a speedster, and husband to a feminine Satan. They managed to make me hate Barry as well. That took effort. He's my favorite, but they tarnished his reputation heavily. He chose to try to save Eddie instead of protecting the timeline here by getting rid of the crystal himself. Okay, it's in his nature to be caring and compassionate, but this is a man whose child is about to be born in less than an hour, and he's making risky moves. I hate that. The sense of urgency is there but not acted upon. Also, Barry literally defeats no one. I kid you not, in this entire episode, Barry has 0 wins. He gets beaten up several times and just wins 0 battles. In the ending of the show, Hold the Flash remained a side character. He's a side character in his own finale, and oh god, that sucks. There is no redeeming this crisis on infinite plot levels. Pathetic. Good riddance, Alan. Hope you had a good run. Nora. Nora makes the greatest mistakes in this episode and it makes me angry. Let's treat this like a court case, shall we? Exhibit A. Escaping death by plot convenience. That's right, that claw impaled her through and through before she ever began phasing. She would have not been held in the air at all if she was phasing. So she cheated death, simply because the plot allowed her. Exhibit B. She kills Savitar by a simple swipe of the claw to his back. Just one swipe. To a Savitar who is wearing armor. I understand the armor is made of the same thing that slashed it. But just one slice? This is a speedster, for God's sake. How is he gone in one slice? It's like Savitar is made of wet paper towels. Exhibit C. She is present at her own birth and holds her baby self. Right. What the hell is going on in this scene? This is literally a massive temporal anomaly, a temporal no, in fact. You do not interact with your baby self ever, and just to clarify, that means you do not ever hold your baby self. But she does, with zero consequences, and converses with her baby self and proceeds to give exposition on the future as to Bart's birth. Okay, you just messed up the fact that the show didn't end by the universe imploding on itself right here because the timeline had just been destroyed amazes me, but let's continue. Writers, you did so much wrong, there's legitimately zero that can ever make up for the bull you sparked on the pestilence and disease which you promptly smoked. Naturally, I am done with the series, and I think that was your intention. To leave a terrible taste in our mouths. Absolute heathens. Oh, and Cecile and Joe get engaged, I guess. That's it. End of video. That's the end of my script, so as a long-time fan of The Flash since it started coming out, I started watching The Flash halfway through the runtime of season 1 as it was getting released weekly. So I can honestly say that part of me is going to miss this show. This was a show I had been watching weekly for years now, and to see it end in such a bad way is like watching a legacy, a really good legacy, something which was pure and good, something entertaining, just fall down and get crushed down and then, well, ceremoniously pissed on. And it's honestly a sad sight to see, but I guess there's nothing we can do about it now. The Flash finale is over, it's never coming back, and we just have to rely on James Gunn to just make The Flash better. Well, the movie coming out is Ezra Miller, so yeah, let's not keep our hopes up, shall we? Anyway, this is a farewell to the series that was once so enjoyed and once so legendary. Goodbye, Flash, and the entire cast. You will be missed. Some of you, anyway. Thank you for watching, guys. As you can tell, I hated this episode so much it actually stings, and I'm done with this series, and honestly, it's better this way. I'll be making one last video on The Flash, but it will not be a review, it will just be my reminiscing over everything I liked about the show and everything I didn't like about the show. A final recap on everything The Flash, and that should be it. Leave a like and comment your thoughts, subscribe with the notification bell on for future uploads, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.